The arrival of Nara. In a quiet corner of San Francisco, Terry Chen sat hunched over his laptop, the soft glow of the screen illuminating his face in the dimly lit office. Lines of code scrolled past him like an endless river, each one holding the promise of a solution to the bug that had plagued him all week. It was Friday evening, and while his colleagues drifted out to celebrate the weekend, he remained anchored to his desk, chasing a moment of victory. Socializing was a minefield he preferred to avoid, the pressure of small talk and laughter often feeling like a weight too heavy to bear. "Hey Terry, we're heading out for drinks. You coming?" Jake from marketing called out as he passed the open door, already halfway down the hallway. "Thanks, but I've got plans," Terry replied, forcing a smile, a practiced lie slipping off his tongue as easily as the code he wrote. Jake shrugged, and the door swung shut behind him, leaving Terry alone with the rhythmic tapping of his keyboard and the occasional hum of the air conditioning. Hours slipped by unnoticed, the darkness outside deepening, until at last he glanced up, rubbing the fatigue from his eyes. The office was silent now, a stark contrast to the vibrant city teeming with life just beyond its walls. He gathered his things, the weight of solitude settling over him as he stepped into the cool night air. The streets of San Francisco were alive, bustling with energy as people spilled from bars and restaurants, laughter echoing off the buildings. Couples strolled hand in hand, their joy highlighting his own sense of isolation. He hurried through the city, his mind occupied with thoughts of home, where he could escape into the comforting embrace of his favorite sci-fi shows and the company of fictional characters who understood him better than any of his peers. As he made his way through Golden Gate Park, a sudden flash of brilliant blue light caught his attention. Terry halted, his heart racing as he watched a streak of light tear across the sky like a comet. It was mesmerizing, an ethereal dance of colors that painted the night with possibility. But it wasn't a comet. It descended rapidly, crashing to the ground with a deafening boom that sent shockwaves through the air. Curiosity ignited within him, pushing aside the instinct to run. He moved toward the source of the light, driven by an insatiable need to understand. As he navigated through the underbrush, he stumbled upon a small crater, the ground scorched and smoking. The smell of ozone filled his lungs, electrifying his senses. And there, in the center of the crater, lay a figure, a woman unlike any he had ever seen. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent glow, reflecting the starlight above. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, sparkling as if the cosmos had been woven into its strands. When she opened her eyes, they were not mere orbs but swirling galaxies of purple and gold, drawing him in with an intensity he couldn't comprehend. Terry's breath caught in his throat, a mix of wonder and disbelief flooding over him. "Greetings, Earth creature," she said, her voice melodic yet strained. "I come in peace." Despite the gravity of the situation, Terry felt a laugh bubbling within him at the absurdity of her greeting. What?" he stammered, struggling to find his words. The alien woman frowned, clearly perplexed. "Have I used the phrase incorrectly? I was led to believe it was a standard Earth greeting." "Not exactly," Terry managed, still in shock. "Are you okay? That looked like a pretty rough landing." She attempted to rise but faltered, pain etched across her beautiful features. Instinctively, Terry rushed to her side, catching her before she could fall. The moment their skin touched, an electric tingle shot through him, awakening every nerve in his body. "My apologies," she said, leaning against him, her breath shallow. "My ship's navigation systems malfunctioned. I am Nara, Crown Princess of the Zarth-Tali, and you are—" "Terry Chen. I'm a software engineer." The words tumbled out automatically, his mind racing to catch up with the reality of the situation. He was holding an alien princess in his arms, and the world around him felt like a dream. Nara's eyes sparkled with intrigue. "A man of science and technology. How fortuitous. Perhaps you can assist me in repairing my vessel." Before Terry could respond, the distant sound of sirens sliced through the night air, sending a jolt of fear through Nara. "We must leave immediately," she urged, her demeanor shifting from confusion to urgency. "Your government's agents approach, and I cannot allow myself to be captured." "Wait, how do you know that?" Terry asked, panic creeping into his voice. Nora placed a delicate hand on his chest, her gaze locking onto his. "Terry Chen, I know this is sudden and strange, but I need you to trust me. Will you help me?" For a moment, Terry hesitated, the weight of her words settling heavily on his shoulders. This was insane. Aliens didn't just crash land in parks, and they definitely didn't ask random software engineers for help. He could call the police, alert the authorities, but as he gazed into Nora's swirling, otherworldly eyes, he felt something shift inside him. Here was the adventure he had always dreamed of, the chance to break free from the mundane and become part of something extraordinary. "Okay," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "What do we do?" Nora's relief washed over her, a warm glow illuminating her features. "Hold on tight," she instructed, wrapping her arms around him. In an instant, the world around them began to shimmer and blur, reality bending and twisting in a dizzying display. Terry's stomach lurched as if he were being pulled apart at the atomic level, a feeling both exhilarating and terrifying. Then, with a rush of displaced air, they materialized in a new location. Terry stumbled, the sudden shift disorienting him. As his vision cleared, he found himself in a space that was unlike anything he had ever seen. The interior of the spaceship was a blend of sleek organic curves and pulsating crystalline structures, with holographic displays flickering to life around them, filled with symbols he couldn't comprehend. "Welcome aboard the Starfire," Nara said, a hint of pride in her voice. "I've engaged our cloaking systems. We should be undetectable to your planet's primitive scanning technology." Terry's mind reeled, struggling to process everything that had happened in the last few minutes. "Okay, hold on," he said, holding up his hands. "I think I'm going to need some explanations here. Who are you really? Why are you on Earth? And what did you mean about government agents?" Nora's expression shifted, the regal facade slipping to reveal genuine worry. "You're right. You deserve the truth. Please, sit down. This may take some time to explain." As Terry lowered himself into a chair that seemed to mold to his form, Nora began to share her story, the weight of her people's plight heavy in the air. The secrets of the universe and the destiny of an alien race were about to unfold before him, intertwining their fates in ways he could never have imagined. With each revelation, Terry felt the excitement and dread of stepping into the unknown. The journey had begun, and he was about to learn just how far humanity's resilience could stretch when faced with the unimaginable. The royal dilemma. Terry settled into the chair, feeling the soft material mold around him, a stark contrast to the hard, cold reality of the office he had just left behind. Nora stood before him, her ethereal presence commanding his full attention. As the lights of the ship pulsed gently around them, casting an otherworldly glow, she took a deep breath, preparing to unveil the fate of her people. "My home, the Zarftali, is a planet rich in beauty and knowledge," she began, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "We are guardians of peace, explorers of the cosmos. For centuries, we have thrived, sharing our discoveries with other civilizations. However, an ancient curse haunts us, one that our ancestors unwittingly brought upon us. It is a curse that destroys the royal bloodline from within." Terry listened intently, his heart pounding. "What do you mean by a curse?" Nora's eyes darkened, swirling with sadness. "When members of my family reach a certain age, our bodies begin to break down, disintegrating from the inside out. We once believed this was a natural progression, a sign of wisdom and maturity, but it has proven to be our greatest downfall. We have searched the galaxy for a cure, traveling to distant worlds and consulting with countless civilizations, but nothing has worked." She waved her hand, and a holographic display sprang to life between them, showcasing a sequence of images that left Terry breathless. He saw a series of vibrant, lush landscapes of Zarftali, teeming with flora and fauna. followed by images of beautiful Zarthelian people, some laughing, others engaged in study or exploration. But then the images shifted to a haunting scene, a majestic figure, regal and proud, slowly crumbling away, flesh turning to ash, their expression a mix of fear and despair. "This is what happens to my people, to those of my bloodline," Nora continued, her voice thick with emotion. "My mother, the reigning queen, was the first to show signs of the affliction. I watched her suffer, helpless to do anything. We believed we had found a solution in the ancient texts of our ancestors, references to human DNA, which our scientists discovered had unique properties that could counteract the curse. But there was a caveat. It requires intimate contact, a mating ritual, to unlock its potential." Terry felt a mixture of dread and fascination at the implications of her words. "So, you need to mate with a human to save your entire species?" "Yes," Nara admitted, her cheeks flushing a delicate shade of lavender. "It's a lot to ask, and I understand if you feel overwhelmed. But when I scanned you in the park, I discovered that you possess the exact genetic markers needed to help my people. If I do not act soon, I could be next to succumb to the curse. Time is running out." For a moment, silence enveloped them, the weight of her words hanging heavy in the air. Terry's mind raced, thoughts colliding and twisting like the stars outside the ship's window. Could he really be the key to saving an entire civilization? The pressure of such a responsibility felt monumental, but beneath it, an ember of excitement flickered to life. This was a chance to be part of something greater than himself, something that transcended the ordinary boundaries of his life. "So, what do I need to do?" he asked, his voice steadier than he felt. Nara smiled, a glimmer of hope breaking through the storm of worry in her eyes. "There are rituals we must perform to harness the power of our union. It involves a deep connection, not just physically but emotionally and spiritually as well. I cannot force you into this. It must be a choice made freely by you. But know that your decision could save not just me, but countless lives." Terry took a deep breath, weighing the gravity of her request against the yearning for adventure that had always lurked beneath his surface. "You're right. This is a lot to process. But I want to help. I want to understand what I need to do." Nora nodded, her expression transforming into one of gratitude. "Thank you, Terry. I promise to guide you through this. First, we must establish a bond, a connection that goes beyond words. The Zarthelians believe that emotions can enhance the power of our DNA. We will share our stories, our hopes, and our dreams." As she spoke, Terry couldn't help but be captivated by her presence. The way her hair seemed to shimmer with each movement, the elegance in her gestures, it was as if she embodied the beauty of the cosmos itself. He felt a pull towards her, a magnetic force that urged him to lean closer. "What do you want to know about me?" he asked, his curiosity ignited. "What's it like on your planet?" Nara smiled, and the room brightened with her joy. "Zarthali is a place of wonder. Our cities are built harmoniously with nature, and we have learned to coexist with our environment. We value knowledge above all, and our schools are filled with eager minds learning about the universe. I studied xenobiology, much like you, because I've always been fascinated by the myriad forms of life that exist beyond our world." Terry's eyes widened. "Really? You studied the same thing I do?" "Yes. I've always dreamed of visiting Earth to experience the rich tapestry of life here. And now I find myself here, with you," she replied, her voice warm. "But it is not just the scientific knowledge that draws me, it is the strength and resilience of humans that intrigues me. Your capacity for empathy, for love, these are traits we cherish." Feeling emboldened, Terry decided to share more of himself. "I'm just an ordinary guy, really. I work in a tech company, and most of my time is spent staring at code. But I've always dreamed of adventure, of doing something meaningful. This opportunity, it's like a dream come true, even if it comes with some hefty responsibilities." Nara's gaze softened, and she stepped closer, the distance between them shrinking. "You are not just an ordinary guy, Terry. You have the heart of a hero, and that is what matters most. Together, we can forge a path that will change the fate of my people." With each word, the air between them crackled with an energy that Terry had never felt before. It was as if their very souls were beginning to intertwine, forming an invisible bond that transcended language and culture. He felt his resolve strengthening, a desire to protect her and her people surging within him. "Let's do this," he said finally, determination coloring his voice. "I'll help you, whatever it takes." Nora's face lit up with a radiant smile, and for the first time, Terry saw the true depth of her spirit, a flicker of hope against the darkness that threatened her world. "Thank you, Terry. Together, we will face whatever challenges lie ahead." But just as they began to explore the possibilities of their journey, the ship's systems suddenly alerted them with a series of urgent beeps. A holographic display flared to life, revealing a series of red blips scattered across a star chart. "Nora, what's happening?" Terry asked, concern knitting his brows together. "Alarm, we are being tracked," Nora exclaimed, her voice steady despite the urgency. "We must act quickly. If the government agents find us, it could jeopardize everything." Terry's heart raced. He had signed up for an adventure, but now it felt as though the stakes had risen dramatically. What do we do? Nora began tapping commands into the console, her fingers flying across the interface with grace and precision. "We need to activate the ship's stealth mode and plot a course to a safe location. I'll also initiate the cloaking field to make us invisible to detection." With the ship humming to life around them, Terry felt the adrenaline surge within him. He could hardly believe this was happening. One moment he was a software engineer lost in the mundane, and now he was racing against time to protect an alien princess. "Just tell me what I can do to help," he said, his voice steady. "Hold on," Nora instructed, her eyes focused on the controls. "If you can monitor our external sensors, I'll engage the stealth systems. We'll need to move fast." As Terry shifted his focus to the controls, he felt a sense of purpose igniting within him. This was it, the moment he had always dreamed of. He was no longer just Terry Chen, a faceless engineer in a sea of codes. He was part of something much larger, something that could change the course of history. With the ship slipping through the fabric of the universe, they prepared for the trials that lay ahead. Together, they would face whatever challenges came their way, united by a bond that would transcend the stars. And as they hurtled into the unknown, Terry felt the thrill of adventure coursing through his veins, ready to embrace the destiny that awaited him alongside Nora, the alien princess who had turned his world upside down. The chase. The hum of the starfire filled the air as Nora and Terry moved with purpose, adrenaline coursing through their veins. The holographic display flickered, showing the red blips, government agents tracking them, a relentless wave of danger that loomed ever closer. As Terry monitored the external sensors, he could see the world outside morphing into a blur of colors and lights, a stark reminder of how small and vulnerable they were in the vast expanse of the universe. "Stealth mode engaged," Nara said, her voice steady despite the urgency of their situation. "We should be invisible to their scanners, but we must act quickly. I'm plotting a course to a nearby moon. It should provide cover while we regroup." "Do you think they'll be able to track us?" Terry asked, his heart pounding in his chest. The thought of being caught filled him with a mixture of fear and resolve. Nora turned to him, her swirling eyes reflecting both confidence and concern. "They might try to trace our energy signature, but if we can navigate carefully, we can evade them. It's vital that we work together." As she input coordinates into the ship's navigational system, Terry felt a sense of camaraderie growing between them. They were allies now, bound by their mission and the extraordinary circumstances that had brought them together. He was no longer just a software engineer lost in the labyrinth of code. He was a partner in an interstellar escapade. "Let's do this," he said, his voice firm. "What's next?" Nora flashed him a grateful smile, her confidence bolstered by his determination. "We need to maintain a low profile while we travel. Keep an eye on the sensors and alert me if you see any changes." Terry nodded, focusing on the controls. The ship's sleek design seemed to hum with life around them, an extension of their will to survive. The Starfire was a marvel of engineering, its organic curves and crystalline structures designed for speed and agility, a perfect vessel for their flight from danger. As they entered the moon's orbit, Terry felt a thrill of anticipation. The moon was a rocky, desolate place, covered in craters and shadowed by the vastness of space. It was the perfect hiding spot, away from prying eyes. Nara navigated the ship toward the moon's surface, her fingers deftly adjusting the controls. "We can land in that crater," she pointed to a large, shadowy hollow. "It will give us a good vantage point while we assess our next move." "Got it," Terry said, his excitement bubbling beneath the surface. The thrill of adventure surged through him, a feeling he had longed for in his monotonous life. As the Starfire descended, the ship's systems hummed with activity, the lights flickering gently as they prepared to land. Terry watched in awe as the ground approached, the surface of the moon revealing its rugged beauty. With a soft thud, the ship settled into the crater, its cloaking mechanism activating to conceal them from any potential observers. Terry felt a rush of relief wash over him. They were safe, at least for the moment. "Now what?" he asked, turning to Nara, who was already scanning the sensors for any signs of pursuit. "We need to assess our situation and devise a plan," she replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. "If they find us here, we will have no means of escape. We must gather information about their movements and figure out how to disrupt their tracking systems." Terry nodded, feeling the weight of the responsibility settle on his shoulders. "I can help with that. I've dealt with coding and debugging, but this is on a whole different level." "Your skills are vital," Nara said, her eyes lighting up. "I will teach you how to interface with the Starfire systems. Together, we can devise a plan to outsmart them." With that, Nara led him to a control panel at the back of the ship. It glimmered with holographic interfaces, pulsating with a life of its own. "This is the core of the Starfire," she explained, her fingers dancing over the controls. "We can access the ship's database and tap into its communication systems." As she worked, Terry couldn't help but admire her grace and confidence. There was something mesmerizing about the way she moved, a blend of elegance and power that left him in awe. She was not just an alien princess, she was a fierce warrior in her own right, dedicated to saving her people. "First, we need to access their communications," Nara said, her focus unwavering. "If we can intercept their signals, we might learn their plans and find a way to disrupt their pursuit." Terry leaned closer, his heart racing with the thrill of the task ahead. "I can help with that. I'm familiar with network protocols. I might be able to rewrite some code to bypass their security systems." Nara glanced at him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of admiration and respect. "Your skills are invaluable, Terry. Let's begin." Working together, they accessed the ship's systems, delving into the complexities of the Zarthelian technology. Terry felt the rush of excitement as he navigated the intricate web of codes, his fingers flying over the controls as he used his knowledge to manipulate the data. "Here," he said, pointing to a series of signals on the display. "If we intercept these frequencies, we can listen in on their communications. It will give us an idea of their next move." Nora nodded, her expression serious. "Good work. Now, let's encrypt our own communications to ensure they cannot trace us back to this location." As they collaborated, the atmosphere between them shifted. The urgency of their mission bound them together, their shared determination forging a connection that went beyond the physical. With each passing moment, Terry found himself increasingly captivated by Nara, her strength and intelligence igniting a spark within him. As they intercepted the signals, snippets of conversations crackled through the ship's speakers. Terry focused, straining to catch the words, his heart racing at the potential implications. "They're on to us," one voice said, distorted but clear enough to decipher. "We need to track the energy signature of the ship. They cannot have gone far." Terry exchanged a glance with Nara. a sense of urgency rippling through the air. Nora pressed the final command, and the ship's systems hummed with activity. A moment later, the decoy signal shot into the vastness of space, a beacon designed to draw the agents away from their true location. "Now we wait," Nora said, her voice steady. The two of them sat in silence, the weight of their choices hanging heavy in the air. Terry could feel the tension build, a palpable energy crackling between them as they waited for the agents to respond. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours as they monitored the tracking systems, watching for any signs of movement. Finally, a burst of activity flickered on the display, and Terry's heart raced. "They're responding to the decoy signal," he exclaimed, relief washing over him. It worked. They're heading in the wrong direction. Nora smiled, a genuine expression of joy lighting up her features. "You did it, Terry. Your ingenuity has bought us precious time." But their victory was short-lived as another alert blared from the ship's systems. "New contacts detected," the ship's voice announced, the tone urgent. "Multiple ships approaching fast." Terry's stomach dropped. "What? How did they find us so quickly?" Nora's expression hardened, determination replacing joy. "They must have detected our energy signature before we activated the decoy. We need to get out of here now." Without hesitation, Nora took the controls, her fingers flying across the interface as she prepared to launch the Starfire back into space. Terry's heart raced, panic bubbling beneath the surface, but he pushed it down, focusing on the task at hand. "Where do we go?" he asked, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Back to the planet's atmosphere," Nora replied, her voice steady. "We can use the planet's terrain to our advantage. If we navigate through the mountains, we might lose them in the clouds." As the ship jolted into motion, Terry felt a rush of exhilaration. They were in the midst of an adventure, and despite the danger, he couldn't shake the thrill that surged within him. The Starfire shot through the moon's atmosphere, weaving and dodging the incoming ships with agility. "Hold on," Nora shouted as she maneuvered the ship with expert precision, the controls humming in response to her commands. The Starfire soared upward, narrowly avoiding a laser blast from one of the pursuers. "Are they firing at us?" Terry gasped, gripping the control panel. "Stay calm," Nora instructed, her focus unwavering. "We need to stay one step ahead of them." Terry's mind raced, recalling everything he knew about evasive maneuvers. "If we can get behind those mountains, we might be able to shield ourselves from their targeting systems." "Good idea," Nora replied, adjusting their course. "Guide me." As they dove toward the jagged peaks below, Terry felt the exhilaration of the chase, the thrill of danger igniting his spirit. He had never felt so alive, so purposeful. Together, they were a team, and with each maneuver, they drew closer to safety. Nora executed a series of sharp turns, the ship gliding effortlessly through the air as they weaved in and out of the mountain range. Terry watched the pursuers struggle to keep up, their ships clumsy in comparison to the agile Starfire. "Look," Terry shouted, pointing to a narrow valley ahead. "We can hide in there." Nora nodded, her eyes bright with determination. "Let's go." With a deft maneuver, she plunged the Starfire into the valley, the rocky walls rising around them like a protective embrace. Terry's heart raced as they descended, the sounds of the pursuers fading into the distance. "Did we lose them?" he asked, breathless, the tension beginning to ease. Nora's fingers flew across the controls, scanning for any signs of their enemies. "It seems so. We need to remain cautious, though. They may still be searching." Terry leaned back in his seat, exhaling deeply. "I can't believe we made it." Nora turned to him, her expression softening. "You were incredible, Terry. Your quick thinking and bravery were vital. Together, we can face whatever comes our way." In that moment, as they settled into the valley's embrace, Terry felt a sense of belonging that he had never experienced before. They were in this together, allies in a fight for survival, bound by their shared adventure and the growing connection between them. As the Starfire hovered in the valley, the stars glittering above, Terry realized that this was only the beginning. The challenges ahead would test their resolve, their ingenuity, and their bond. But he felt ready to embrace whatever fate had in store for them. They were two unlikely heroes on a journey across the cosmos, and together, they would uncover the secrets that lay ahead, the heart of the matter. As the starfire nestled into the valley, the ambient sounds of the universe faded, replaced by the soft hum of the ship's systems and the gentle rustle of the moon's surface outside. Terry and Nara shared a moment of respite, their hearts still racing from the close call. The dim light of the control panel cast soft shadows across Nora's face, illuminating her ethereal features, and for a moment, Terry allowed himself to simply admire her. "Now that we've evaded them, we need to come up with a plan," Nora said, breaking the comfortable silence. Her expression was serious, the weight of their situation pressing down on her like a heavy cloak. "Right," Terry agreed, shifting into a more businesslike demeanor. "What do you think our next move should be? We need to figure out how to disable their ability to track us and secure a more permanent escape plan." Nora nodded, her fingers gliding over the console as she pulled up a map of the surrounding area. "We are currently in a remote location, but the government agents will not give up easily. They'll be analyzing their options, trying to determine where we went. If we can disrupt their systems, we might buy ourselves enough time to reach the nearest starbase where we can find help." "Disrupt their systems? How do we do that?" Terry asked, intrigued by the challenge. Nora paused, her gaze focused on the map. "We can create a diversion. If we can plant a signal disruptor in their main communication array, we can render their tracking systems useless. It's risky, but if we're careful, we might pull it off." Terry's mind raced with possibilities. And where would we find this array? Nora pointed to a location on the map. "There's a government facility on the other side of the moon. It houses their communication and tracking systems. If we can infiltrate the facility and plant a disruptor, we can cause chaos that will give us the chance we need to escape." Terry felt a rush of excitement. The thought of embarking on a mission, a real adventure, sent adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Let's do it. We'll need to gather whatever resources we can find on this ship to make a disruptor. Do you have any tech or materials we can use?" Nora smiled, a spark of enthusiasm igniting in her eyes. "Yes, the Starfire is equipped with advanced technology. We have everything we need to construct a signal disruptor." They quickly set to work, gathering components from various sections of the ship. Nora's knowledge of Zarthelian technology impressed Terry as she explained the functions of each piece they collected. "Here," she said, holding up a small crystalline device. "This is a frequency modulator. It can amplify signals and disrupt communications if configured correctly." Terry took it from her, inspecting it closely. "I've never seen anything like this before. How does it work?" "It harnesses the energy of nearby electromagnetic fields to create interference," Nora explained, her enthusiasm palpable. "If we can amplify its power output, it will be strong enough to disrupt their systems across a wide radius." As they worked, Terry felt a sense of camaraderie growing between them. Each interaction was charged with an energy he had never experienced before, a mix of excitement and respect. He admired Nora's intelligence and determination, qualities that made her more than just a princess. She was a fierce protector of her people. "Once we construct the disruptor, we'll need to set it up while avoiding detection," Nora continued, her focus unwavering. "It will be essential for us to move quickly and silently." "What's the layout of the facility?" Terry asked, already formulating strategies in his mind. Nora pulled up a holographic schematic of the government facility, outlining the various sections. There are several entry points, but the main entrance is heavily guarded. However, we can enter through the maintenance access on the east side. It's less monitored, but we'll need to move carefully. Terry studied the layout, mentally mapping out their approach. If we enter through the maintenance access, we can make our way to the communication array without being detected. Once we plant the disruptor, we can slip out the same way. "Exactly," Nora exclaimed, her excitement infectious. "If we are swift, we can complete our mission before they realize what has happened." As they worked side by side, the atmosphere inside the starfire shifted. The sense of urgency was palpable, but so was a growing bond, a partnership forged in the fires of adversity. They finished assembling the disruptor, and Terry felt a surge of pride at their accomplishment. It was a testament to their collaboration and ingenuity. "All right, we're ready," Nora said, holding the completed device in her hands. "Now, we need to make our move." With a shared glance of determination, they prepared to leave the ship. Terry took a moment to gather his thoughts, his heart racing at the thought of what lay ahead. This was more than just an adventure. It was a chance to prove himself, to stand up for something greater than himself. Nora activated the ship's cloaking mechanism, and they stepped outside, the cool lunar air brushing against their skin. The landscape was stark and beautiful, with the rocky terrain illuminated by the light of distant stars. They moved carefully, staying low, and using the shadows to conceal themselves as they made their way toward the government facility. "Stay close," Nora whispered, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Terry nodded, feeling the adrenaline surge through him. This was it, an exhilarating leap into the unknown. As they approached the facility, they could see guards patrolling the perimeter, their silhouettes moving against the stark backdrop of the moon's surface. Terry's heart raced as he watched, a mix of excitement and fear surging through him. "We'll need to wait for the right moment to slip past them," Nora suggested, her eyes scanning for an opening. Terry felt a rush of confidence. "I can create a distraction. If I can access one of the maintenance panels, I might be able to trigger a false alarm, drawing their attention away from us." Nora's expression brightened. "That's a great idea. If you can pull that off, we can slip in while they're distracted." With a determined nod, Terry made his way toward a nearby maintenance panel, his heart pounding in his chest. He was acutely aware of the risks, but the thrill of adventure propelled him forward. He reached the panel, his fingers working deftly to open it. Inside, he found a tangle of wires and circuitry, the complexity of the systems sending a rush of excitement through him. "All right, let's see what I can do," he murmured to himself. As he began to manipulate the wiring, he felt a surge of adrenaline. The hum of the facility's systems buzzed around him, and he focused intently, recalling his coding knowledge and applying it to the task at hand. Come on," he whispered, his heart racing. After a few moments of fiddling with the wires, he finally managed to trigger a cascade of alarms throughout the facility. The blaring sirens echoed in the stillness of the night, a cacophony of chaos that sent the guards scrambling. "Now," Nora urged, her voice cutting through the noise. Terry turned and sprinted toward her, adrenaline pumping through his veins as they dashed toward the maintenance access. Inside the facility, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The sterile corridors hummed with energy, and the flickering lights overhead cast airy shadows against the walls. They navigated through the maintenance corridors, staying low and moving swiftly. "Where to next?" Terry asked, glancing at Nara, who was scanning the schematics on a portable device. "Follow me," she said, leading the way. "We need to head to the second floor, where the communication array is located. If we can plant the disruptor there, we'll create enough interference to throw them off our trail." Terry followed closely, his heart racing with both fear and exhilaration. They rounded a corner and found themselves in a long hallway lined with heavy metal doors. Nora paused, her eyes scanning for any sign of guards. "This is it," she whispered, leading him toward a door marked with a symbol that indicated it was part of the communication systems. "We need to get inside." Terry felt a rush of adrenaline as he watched her work the door controls, her fingers moving with confidence and grace. A moment later, the door slid open, revealing a high-tech room filled with glowing screens and pulsating machinery. "Wow," Terry breathed, stepping inside. "This place is incredible." Nora's eyes glinted with determination as she moved toward the central console. We need to plant the disruptor quickly before they realize we're here. Terry set the disruptor down, quickly securing it to a nearby console. How does this work? He asked, his mind racing as he tried to remember the specifics of their plan. Once it's activated, it will send out a pulse that disrupts their communications, Nara explained, her focus unwavering. We need to configure it to target their frequency range specifically. Terry nodded, quickly working alongside her. They moved in harmony, their teamwork seamless as they connected wires and adjusted settings. The tension in the air was palpable, the weight of their mission pressing down on them. Almost there, Nara said, her fingers flying over the controls. Terry felt a surge of adrenaline as they neared the final steps. Just as they finished configuring the disruptor, an alarm blared throughout the facility, drowning out their triumphant moment. They found us, Nora exclaimed, her expression shifting to one of urgency. We need to activate the disruptor now. On it, Terry shouted, his heart racing as he pressed the final button. The disruptor hummed to life, and a pulse of energy shot through the room, sending waves of interference rippling outwards. Let's go, Nora urged, grabbing his hand as they raced toward the exit. They burst through the door just as guards rushed into the room, confusion on their faces. The alarms blared, echoing through the corridors as Terry and Nara sprinted away, adrenaline propelling them forward. Quick, this way, Nara shouted, leading him down another corridor. The urgency in her voice drove him to push himself harder, determination fueling their escape. They navigated through the maze of hallways, the sound of footsteps pounding behind them. Terry's heart raced as they ducked into a side passage, holding their breath as the guards passed by, unaware of their presence. Keep moving, Nora whispered, her eyes scanning for the nearest exit. Terry could feel the heat of the chase on his back, but he also felt a surge of exhilaration. They were in this together, two unlikely heroes racing against time. As they finally approached the exit, they burst into the open air, the cool night sky welcoming them back to freedom. Terry felt a rush of relief wash over him, but there was no time to linger. They had to get back to the Starfire before the facility could mount a proper response. Over there, Nora pointed toward the ship, now hidden beneath the shadows of the crater. They sprinted toward it, their feet pounding against the rocky surface, the sounds of chaos fading behind them. Come on, Terry urged as they reached the ship. Nora quickly activated the ship's systems, the Starfire humming to life around them. Get us out of here, Terry shouted, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. Nora wasted no time, maneuvering the controls with expert precision. The ship began to rise, the lunar landscape shrinking beneath them as they ascended into the sky. As they broke free from the moon's atmosphere, Terry felt a mix of relief and exhilaration. They had done it. They had infiltrated the facility, planted the disruptor, and escaped. Now what? Terry asked, turning to Nara, whose face was a blend of triumph and determination. Now we regroup and plan our next move, she said, her voice steady. We can't stay here. We need to find a way to contact my people and secure assistance. The journey is far from over. Terry nodded, a sense of purpose igniting within him. They had accomplished something incredible together, but there was still much work to be done. With Nara by his side, he felt ready to face whatever challenges awaited them in the vast expanse of space. As the stars twinkled outside the viewport, Terry realized that this was more than just an adventure. It was a journey of discovery, growth, and a burgeoning connection that was unlike anything he had ever experienced. With the fate of an alien civilization hanging in the balance, he knew that their story was just beginning. Together, they would navigate the unknown and uncover the secrets of the universe, united by a bond that transcended worlds. Echoes of destiny. As the Starfire soared through the cosmos, the vastness of space stretched before Terry and Nara, a tapestry of stars glimmering against the inky blackness. The exhilaration of their recent escape began to settle, but the weight of their mission loomed large. They had successfully planted the disruptor, but they knew the threat was far from over. Nara sat at the control panel, her fingers gliding over the holographic displays as she analyzed the ship's systems. "We need to assess the damage and ensure our systems are functioning optimally," she said, her brow furrowing in concentration. "If the government discovers our location again, we won't be able to evade them a second time." Terry nodded, his own adrenaline slowly fading, replaced by a keen focus on their next steps. "How can I help?" Nara glanced at him, appreciation in her eyes. "Your skills in technology are invaluable, Terry. If you could assist me in running diagnostics on the ship, it will ensure we are fully operational." "Absolutely," he replied, moving to her side. As they worked together, Terry couldn't shake the feeling that they were a well-oiled machine, each contributing their strengths to the mission. It was a partnership he had never expected to form, and one that ignited a sense of purpose within him. They began running diagnostics, the ship's systems displaying an array of data and readouts. Terry's mind quickly shifted into gear, analyzing the information that flickered across the screen. "It looks like our energy reserves are holding up well, but we need to check the shields. We can't afford any weaknesses," he remarked. Nora nodded, adjusting the controls to display the shield status. "Good eye. Let's see if we can recalibrate them to provide better protection against any incoming threats." Terry leaned in, watching as she manipulated the data. The harmony of their teamwork felt invigorating, and he found himself increasingly drawn to her. Nora's determination and intelligence shone brightly, fueling his own resolve to protect her and help save her people. "While we're running these diagnostics, can you tell me more about your people?" Terry asked, curious about the culture and history of the Zarthelians. "What are they like?" Nara paused, a soft smile bracing her lips. "The Zarthelians are a proud and ancient race. We value knowledge, exploration, and harmony with the universe. Our society is built on cooperation and understanding, and we strive to learn from every civilization we encounter. But the curse has threatened everything we hold dear." "What about your royal line?" Terry probed, intrigued by her story. "What is your role in all of this?" "As the crown princess, it is my duty to lead and protect my people," she explained, her voice filled with a mixture of pride and sorrow. "I have trained for years to take on this responsibility, and now, with the fate of my civilization hanging in the balance, I feel the weight of it more than ever. I've always dreamed of making a difference, of leading my people into a new era of prosperity." Terry felt a rush of admiration for her. "You are incredibly brave, Nara. It takes a lot of courage to face such adversity head-on." "Thank you, Terry. It means a lot to me to hear that," she replied, her eyes meeting his with a warmth that made his heart skip a beat. "But I couldn't do this without your support. Your bravery has already made a difference." As they continued their work, the ship's systems pinged, indicating a successful recalibration of the shields. "We're good on that front," Terry said, a sense of accomplishment flooding through him. "What's next?" Nara turned to him, her expression serious. "We need to contact the Zarthelian fleet. If we can reach them, we can organize a counter-offensive against the government forces and secure the help we need." "Do you have a way to send a signal?" Terry asked, feeling a sense of urgency. Nara smiled, her eyes brightening. "Yes, the Starfire is equipped with long-range communication technology. If we can establish a connection, we can send a distress signal to my people." "Let's do it," he said, his heart racing at the thought of making contact with her civilization. Nara moved to another control panel, her fingers deftly navigating the holographic interface. "I need you to monitor the frequencies and help me find a channel that's safe and secure." Terry nodded, diving into the task. He scanned through the myriad of frequencies, searching for anything that might provide a link to the Zarthelian fleet. The tension in the air thickened as they worked, the weight of their mission bearing down on them. "Here," Terry exclaimed, pointing to a frequency that was beginning to stabilize. "This one looks promising. It's a less frequented channel that could potentially connect us with your fleet." "Great job," Nara responded, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. "Let's send out the distress signal." Terry watched as she input the message, her fingers flying across the screen as she encoded their location and situation. "Ready?" she asked, glancing at him. "Ready," he confirmed, his heart pounding in anticipation. With a final tap, Nora sent the signal into the vastness of space. "Signal sent," she announced, the tension in her voice giving way to hope. "Now we wait." They both turned their attention to the screen, watching for any signs of a response. Time felt stretched, each second dragging as they held their breath, waiting for a sign that help was on the way. After what felt like an eternity, the screen flickered to life, an incoming transmission lighting up the display. Terry's heart leaped as Nora's eyes widened in excitement. "It's them," she shouted, her voice filled with joy. "They received our signal." The image on the screen coalesced into a familiar face, an elderly Zarfelian with regal features and wise eyes that radiated authority. "Nora," the figure exclaimed, relief evident in his voice. "We fear for your safety. What has happened?" "Father." Nora responded, her voice a mixture of joy and urgency. "I've come to Earth seeking help. Our people are in grave danger, and we must act quickly to thwart the curse and protect our civilization." The elder's expression hardened. "You are brave to come here, but the risks are great. We are tracking the government's movements. They have been searching for you since the incident. We have planted a disruptor at their communication facility," Nora explained, "but we need your assistance to mount a counter-offensive. We cannot do this alone." The elder nodded, the weight of the situation palpable in his expression. "We are assembling a fleet to support you. We will not let the Zarfelian legacy fall to darkness. Prepare your ship for a rendezvous at the coordinates I will send you. We will meet you there." Terry felt a surge of hope and excitement. They were not alone in this fight. They had allies who would stand with them. "Thank you," Nora said, her voice filled with gratitude. "I will prepare the starfire for our departure." As the transmission ended and the screen faded, a renewed sense of purpose washed over Terry. They had taken significant steps forward, but they knew the battle was far from over. "What's our next move?" he asked, turning to Nora. "First, we need to prepare the starfire for the rendezvous," she replied, her demeanor shifting back to a focused determination. "We'll need to check our energy reserves and ensure that the disruptor is still functioning." They sprang into action, working side by side once more. The thrill of adventure and camaraderie pulsed through them, invigorating their spirits as they prepared for the next phase of their mission. As they checked the ship's systems, Terry couldn't help but marvel at the bond they had forged in such a short time. They were two unlikely heroes from different worlds, united by a shared purpose that transcended the boundaries of space and time. With everything in place, they set their course for the rendezvous point. The starfire glided gracefully through the cosmos, and Terry took a moment to gaze out at the stars, reflecting on how much had changed since that fateful evening in Golden Gate Park. "Ready for what lies ahead?" Nora asked, her voice breaking through his thoughts. "More than ever," he replied, a smile breaking across his face. "We're in this together." As they approached the rendezvous point, the anticipation hung thick in the air. The Zarfelian fleet would soon be within reach, and with their allies at their side, they would confront the looming threat. "Stay sharp," Nora said, her tone serious. "We must remain vigilant. The government won't give up easily." "Got it," Terry replied, feeling the pulse of adrenaline return. Together, they prepared for whatever challenges awaited them, ready to fight for the future of the Zarfelian people. As the stars shimmered outside the viewport, Terry realized that he had found not just a mission, but a purpose, a reason to fight for something greater than himself. And with Nora by his side, he felt ready to face whatever destiny had in store for them. Their adventure was far from over, and the echoes of their choices would resonate through the universe, shaping the fate of both their worlds.